No secret that Shedeur Sanders is in the quarterback battle with Dillon Gabriel and Joe Flacco. Well, when asked about the young quarterback, it looked like the offensive coordinator refused to answer about Shedeur, but he had a lot of great things to say about Dillon Gabriel. My whole thing about it is give Shedeur a fair shot, bro. Like, he was speaking about Dillon Gabriel during the preseason, speaking about Dillon Gabriel working good with the ones and the twos and his poise and his demeanor on the field. I don't care nothing about none of that, bro. Shedeur need to be given the same opportunity because at this point, why have him? Because it clearly seems like y'all ain't trying to develop the young man. And if y'all just want to keep him for sales and stuff, just let him go. Let him go somewhere where he's going to play, get the actual experience. And I'm tired of people saying that, you know what I'm saying, we're hurting Shedeur more than we're helping Shedeur whenever we make this type of content. We make this type of content because everybody else scared to talk about it. See, everybody else scared to put the organization, you know.
And here's the kicker. When asked about Shedeur Sanders, a rookie quarterback with all the talent in the world and the weight of prime-time expectations on his shoulders, Rees brushed him aside. Instead, he showered Dillon Gabriel with praise, talking about his poise, his demeanor, his confidence. It almost felt like Rees was campaigning for Gabriel, while Shedeur was left standing in the shadows. That's not just football talk, that's a message. And Browns fans, college football fans, and Deion Sanders loyalists? They heard it loud and clear. Now let's be real here. Shedeur Sanders didn't just fall into the league. He's earned his shot. He's battled through the scrutiny of being Deion Sanders' son, he's proven himself in college, and he's got the arm talent, accuracy, and football IQ to thrive in the NFL. Yet when his offensive coordinator is asked about him, there's silence. Meanwhile, Gabriel gets called poised, experienced, calming, great with his teammates. You tell me, does that sound like a fair competition? Here's what makes it even more frustrating. If Shedeur's not going to get a fair chance to develop, then what are the Browns doing with him? Why keep him on the roster just for ticket sales, just for jersey sales, just for the primetime effect? If that's all this is, then let the young man go somewhere else. Let him find a team that actually wants to invest in his future. Because keeping him in Cleveland only to bury him behind Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel feels more like sabotage than development. And that's where the controversy deepens. Because the people defending the Browns say, hey, we're not hurting Shedeur by benching him, we're protecting him. But no, protecting doesn't look like ignoring. Protecting doesn't look like praising the competition while leaving him out of the conversation. Protecting looks like giving him meaningful reps, real snaps, and a genuine shot at the job. And right now, Shedeur isn't getting that. So let me ask you this. Do you think the Browns are sabotaging Shedeur Sanders? Or do you believe this is just tough love, standard NFL politics at play? Drop your thoughts down below because this is where the debate gets heated. It's one thing to compete. It's another thing to be erased. And right now, that's what it feels like for Shedeur in Cleveland. Now, when Rees opened his mouth about Dillon Gabriel, it was like he was describing the perfect young quarterback. He said Gabriel has experience, he can handle protection calls, he gives teammates confidence, he's a calming presence. That's all well and good, but the glaring omission? Not a word about Shedeur. Not one. You don't just forget about your supposed franchise rookie. You don't just dodge his name unless you're sending a message. And here's where it gets even crazier. Rees went on at length about defensive coordinators, schemes, about Harold the tight end, about young guys stepping up in training camp. He had words for everyone, except Shedeur Sanders. Think about that. He even praised role players for doing their jobs, for learning fast, for being versatile. But when it came time to talk about Shedeur, the silence was deafening.
Yeah, the processing that he's applied to the game. I think when he's had his opportunity in the preseason, we've seen him operate really efficiently within the offense. So, look, Dillon has put a lot of work in. He's been thrown in there in different settings with different reps and different opportunities against good competition. Played in the preseason. So, continuing to build those opportunities for him are important as the season goes on, and continuing to develop him to get him caught up to speed. But there's a poise there with him that does give us confidence in his ability to execute.
Short yardage back.
We do.
Sanders.
We got 3 backs that we feel like can go out and get us a yard.
Pass rusher like Hendrickson, you have to get confidence, not one person's responsibility, but since he lines up on one side,
Yep.
like how much of a test is this going to be for him?
Yeah, he's a great player. You know, he's led the league in sacks for a reason. Plays with an extremely high football IQ, has good rush plans, good movements, can finish, you know, through traffic, can finish around traffic. So, yeah, you're right in saying it takes everyone. It takes the receivers getting open. It takes the ball coming out on time. It takes the guys that are going to help in protection. All of those pieces add up to a successful protection plan. And then, you know, we got to challenge Dillon to own his one-on-one matchups when those are called.
This wasn't a slip-up. This wasn't just Rees forgetting to mention someone. This was intentional. And you have to wonder, is this coming from Rees himself? Or is this part of a bigger plan inside the Browns organization to downplay Shedeur's role and slow down his rise? Let me throw this out there. If the Browns believe Dillon Gabriel is more NFL ready, fine. But why draft or sign Shedeur Sanders in the first place if you weren't going to actually build around him? Was this just about marketing? Was this just about having the Sanders name in the locker room? Because if it was, then it's not just unfair, it's disrespectful. Audience, let me hit you with a question right now. If you were Shedeur, would you stay patient and wait for your shot in Cleveland? Or would you demand to go somewhere else where you can play, develop, and prove yourself? I want to know how you see this playing out. If you won't let the kid cook, don't keep him in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Joe Flacco is sitting there in the quarterback room, the veteran presence, the steady hand. We all know who Joe Flacco is. He's dependable, he's experienced, and he's got a Super Bowl MVP to his name. But he's not the future. And Dillon Gabriel? Sure, he's talented, but is he really the face of a franchise? Because Shedeur Sanders has the charisma, the name, and the upside to be that face. The Browns just don't seem to want to admit it. And I've got to say this, when Rees praised Gabriel's preseason performances, his poise, and his efficiency, it felt like a subtle slap in the face to Shedeur. Because Shedeur hasn't been given the same reps, the same rhythm, the same stage to show what he can do. How can you fairly judge two young quarterbacks when only one is being handed the ball? That's like telling two boxers to fight for the title, but only letting one of them train in the ring while the other sits in the corner watching. And here's the thing. This isn't just about one press conference. This is about a pattern. It's about how Shedeur Sanders is being treated inside that building day after day. If the Browns were serious about him, if they truly believed he could be their future, then you'd hear it in their words. You'd see it in their actions. Instead, we hear about Dillon Gabriel, we hear about role players, we hear about tight ends and run schemes. Everything but Shedeur. Now, I want to turn this over to you again. Do you think Tommy Rees is just playing it safe with his words, trying not to put extra pressure on Shedeur? Or do you think he's revealing the truth, that Shedeur isn't even in the real quarterback conversation right now? Be honest, because this is where fans are divided. Sometimes silence speaks louder than praise. And let's not forget what Shedeur represents. He's not just another rookie. He's the son of Dillon Sanders. He comes in with expectations, with cameras, with a spotlight bigger than most rookies could ever imagine. That's pressure, yes, but it's also opportunity. For the Browns, that should mean energy, ticket sales, and hope for the future. But instead of harnessing that energy, it feels like they're dimming the lights. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel continues to soak up the compliments. Rees calls him poised. He says Gabriel operates efficiently. He says the team feels confident when Gabriel is in the huddle. Those are the exact things you want your coach to be saying about your potential franchise quarterback. But those words aren't attached to Shedeur. And that, right there, is the heart of this controversy. So let's zoom out. This isn't just a Shedeur versus Gabriel conversation. This is about how the Browns are running their quarterback room. On one side, you've got a proven veteran in Joe Flacco, who isn't going to be rattled. On the other side, you've got Dillon Gabriel, who's getting all the praise from Rees. And then there's Shedeur, caught in between trying to prove himself, but seemingly boxed out of the conversation. If you're a Browns fan, doesn't that bother you? Doesn't it sting to know that the guy with arguably the most upside is the one being overlooked? Because this is how teams waste talent. This is how young players lose confidence. And this is how organizations create controversies that divide locker rooms and fan bases. Audience question: if you were Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, would you step in and make sure Shedeur gets a fair shake? Or would you keep letting Tommy Rees run the show the way he is right now? Think about it, because leadership matters in these moments. Great teams don't just pick a quarterback, they build one. Now, let's talk about Shedeur himself. What do we know about this kid? He's calm under pressure. He's accurate. He's been groomed by one of the greatest defensive minds ever, his father. He's built for this. He's not a deer in headlights. He's not some project you stash away and forget about. He's ready to learn, ready to develop, ready to compete. But how can he do that if his offensive coordinator won't even say his name when the cameras are on? And don't get it twisted, Shedeur doesn't need handouts. He doesn't need the Browns to gift him the job. All he needs is a fair chance. Give him the reps, give him the trust, and let the competition be real. If he loses out to Dillon Gabriel or Joe Flacco, fine. But at least give him the stage to prove himself. Because until then, this isn't a competition, it's a coronation of Gabriel while Shedeur gets sidelined. And that's where I'll leave you for today. What do you think? Is Tommy Rees exposing a deeper plan to keep Shedeur out of the spotlight? Or is this just rookie politics in the NFL? Either way, the silence around Shedeur speaks volumes. This is Gridiron Insights, and we're going to keep speaking up when others stay quiet. Because Shedeur Sanders deserves better. And as always, make sure you like this video, drop a comment with your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss the latest NFL controversies. Stay locked in, because we're just getting started.